And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at the primary. Now, I get offered a lot of political games to review, and I turned down the vast majority of them because I'm not really interested in satirical, humoristic political games that are making fun of whatever the politics of the day are. Those games tend to alienate at least half the people at the table, sometimes everyone at the table. I am extremely interested in politicking and electioneering in general, and so the primary, which basically is about a presidential primary, no party here, just you're all members of one party whatsoever, and even the issues are kind of obscured. This is a straight up area control game, but it operates along the lines of the American primaries, which is a very, in my opinion, a very strange way of electing where different states get to go first and people drop out of the race. But in this game, again, it's just kind of area control as you are trying to get votes in different areas of the United States of America and come out at the end with the most votes so that you can be your party's nominee for president. So if you're someone who's like, oh, politics, I don't know, don't worry about it. It's an area control game. You can go into it looking at it like that. Here we go. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to get a color, so they'll have a pawn and cubes of their color. You're also going to get one of the different candidates in the game. That candidate's going to give you a starting ability and some cubes that you're going to start with. Now, in this game, there's cubes and influences, what they're called, that are going to be in your hand, and there's some in the bank. Now, the rules tell you to keep the stuff in the bank in a bag, but we just put ours like in a pool near the board, and then you would have cubes that you could use would be in your hand. Now, the game is going to take place over 11 rounds, and in each of those rounds, there's going to be either no scoring, so in round 1, there's no scoring, which is why this token is placed here, or one or more of the regions is going to score. So in round 2, and these chips are placed randomly at the beginning of the game, this upper northwest region is going to be scoring, and there's only one of those. That's why there's a single dot at the bottom of the 2. You'll place this token out, or multiples of them, if there are multiple regions that are going to vote at the end of the round. So again, there's 11 rounds in the game. At the 11th round, the last 3 regions are going to vote, and then whoever has the most votes is going to be the winner. Each round of the game is begun by having an event card be drawn. It's like a news story here, which is going to have something happen here. All regions can immediately move to a region voting in round 11. All players who enter this round in the same region as an opponent get 2 influence cubes from the bank. And so there are various cards here that can happen that will, basically affect all the players. Each player has 14 action cards, and each turn you're going to be picking 4 of these, you choose them, and placing them in front of you in the board. And then starting with the person who's first that round, and this will pass around, each person will reveal the first card, do what it says, and then the second card, third card, going around the table until each player has played 4 cards. What are the cards? Well, everyone has a bus, which lets you move to an adjacent region. So you take your pawn, and you can move to a region that's next to you. We also have a plane, which lets you go any region on the board, but you have to pay one of the influence cubes that you have. Rally lets you place 2 influence cubes from your hand onto your region. So that's one of the ways you're going to get cubes on the board. Fundraisers, each one of those gives you an influence cube from the bank to your hand. A positive add lets you throw a cube anywhere on the board, just one no. And a negative add lets you remove 1 cube from the board. And then super packs. These do nothing when you play them. However, at the end of a round, whoever has played the most super pack cards is going to get 4 influence cubes from the bank. If there's a tie, everyone involved in the tie will get 2 influence cubes. Then, after that, if there's non-voting, we just turn this token over to show that it's over. But if there is a voting phase that's in that round, then we'll check that region or the multiple regions where it is. And we'll count up the cubes in that region. So you simply count up all the cubes. If someone's pawn there is there, that counts as 1, 2, and whoever has the most is going to get all the votes in this region. There's 10 votes. If there's a tie, then you split them as evenly as you can. If it's a region like the Texas-Oklahoma region here that has 2, then first place gets this many votes and second place gets that many. Then everyone takes their cards back and you start again. You'll take all the cubes out of the region that voted, turn the token over to show that that region has been voted for, and you continue on. After 11 rounds, whoever has the most votes is the winner. One of the things that I like about the game is that we just have some very generic candidates here. These aren't based on anyone in real life, and a wide spattering of, special abilities and things. The card quality is decent amongst all the different cards. There's also a deck of cards here for Electobot 9000. This is if you want to play a solo game. You have these cards, and a die will be included to be used with these. The influence cubes are nice. They're just, your clear translucent cubes. Work well in this game. These tokens are a little small, and the dot underneath it helps you remember if there's a 9 or a 6. Turning them over as a check mark, that's nice. Again, I wish they'd been a little nicer, but the board itself is really clear. The different colors, and you can see the numbers. It's just a really well done board, and I like that these are included so you can see which regions are scoring in any particular round. For considering how small the box is in this type of regard, I think that the components are pretty good. Now again, I don't think politics is that strong in this. I mean, it kind of shows you how the primary works. And I like that, and I like the cards and the events and things. It has a nice, electioneering framework to it. But if you're like, I don't like politics, I think you could still enjoy this game. And in fact, in one of my games, I played with some people who were not from the United States and did not know anything about how our primaries worked. So I was able to explain a little bit about how it worked. And again, this is not exact because in the United States, Iowa and New Hampshire are going first always, etc. Here, the different regions that go first are going to be different each round, but it kind of shows you that. But it's essentially just an area control game. Now, let's talk about it as a game itself. As a game itself, I find it really fun. It's a simple game. You're just going to be moving around the board, trying to get stuff, going to the next area that's going to be voted on, and trying to get cubes, and you're always going to feel like you don't have enough cubes. So it's easy enough to play a card that give you more cubes from the bank, but if you use those super packs, you could get 4. That's a lot. The problem is if I play 1, and I'm the only person to play 1, I get 4 cubes, but everyone knows that, so usually everyone might play 1, then you just get 2. So I know everyone's going to play 1, so why not play 2 to get 4? But if 2 people play 2, or if I play 2 and you play 3, then you get 4. But if you play 3, couldn't I have just played 3 of those cards that give me 1 cube each? And I'd be assured 3 cubes. So there's kind of this bluffing and trying to outguess the other players with this whole super pack. And you got to do it because you're going to run out of cubes otherwise. And then deciding where to go and using your special abilities. For example, one candidate, their pawn counts as 2 votes where they are. So where that candidate goes is pretty powerful. I played a candidate who, when he used the bust card, could drop a cube off. That's great, except I struggled keeping cubes in my hand to put out on the board. But the candidate gives you a little bit of focus on that, but it's essentially going to run around. And the game's going to change dramatically, I feel, if you play with 5 candidates or go down to just a few candidates, because the area control is going to change. And as a heads up, you can have some very wild swingy scores at the end. You can get into a position where you're like, oh, we're at the 11th election. I really can't win here because I'm too far behind. But the game is short enough that I don't think that's a problem. This is like a 45-minute game, and it's, when I like area control games or area majority games, I like games that, there can be complex and all sort of things going on, but sometimes I just want to play a very basic game. And this game has 14 cards. I believe there's 6 different types of cards to play. You have to decide the right card to play. You're trying to outthink each other, so there's a little bit of that, simultaneous selection. And then you play and move around and react to what other people do and fight over the votes. And you can decide to go to a region that's not going to vote for like 3 rounds and just really build that one up so that it's yours when it happens, or go for the region that's voting right now. And that's it. And react to the news. The news adds a little bit of randomness to the game, events that affect everyone, so it's not like they unfairly target one person. And you just work with those. You work with your character's special ability. This game is extremely easy to teach. I like a game. This is a theme I like. It's a game that's simple, offers some good strategy and tactics, and it's one I can play with almost anyone. That's a great thing. And it's really professionally produced. It looks like it came from one of the big publishers, which it didn't. It's a small publisher. That's fantastic. Highly recommend it. The Primary. Dice Tower Judgment approved.